Notice the meeting was properly posted Friday, May the 6th. Item number 1, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of Tuesday, May the 3rd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 2, discussion possible action regarding any items currently on BET watch list. Let's see here. Ms. Overstreet sent me an email the other day. Jamie, if I misspeak or if anything's changed, please let me know. But the pay parity, the $346,376.28 that is on the watch list can be removed. Do we have a motion to remove?
Motion to remove.
Second.
In a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. And then there were 2 other adjustments. The juvenile bureau, 1 new position, the $21,368. Excuse me, due to the parity, pay parity that went through for their organization, that dollar amount actually would go up to $22,716.48. So they would like that number revised to reflect the $22,716.48. Is there any discussion or motion?
Motion to approve that change.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. And likewise, the item right below it on the watch list for the $39,684. The difference is it's the same position, just a breakdown between the bureau and the detention funding mechanism. That $39,684 would need to be moved to $42,307.76.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mine, 42,300.
42,307.76.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Motion passes. Well,
You gonna leave those?
the capital
Yeah,
that you have on here, it says you indicated in your email that it was for the FY 22-23 budget.
We asked for it last year and it got put on the watch list at the amounts that are currently listed. And so I don't know if you all wanna change it or not. It is in our budget request. And of course, it costs more. So I didn't know if we changed that now or not. So I just included it in your memo.
Oh, okay. I mean, do you anticipate moving on this in the next month in the elevator?
I don't have any money, so it would have to come in the budget. So we could leave it if you want until that decision's made. Or you can take it off since it's in my budget request. And if you decide to put it on the watch list during this budget process, you can put the clean amounts.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Is that on the watch list, the 164,277
And the 91.
and the 91?
Mhm.
Okay. Is there a motion to remove those items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Thanks, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed this was, this is for your estimate of needs.
Yeah, in case I assume there'd be some questions and you can accept this whenever you get to that item.
All right. Is there any other discussion on any other item that is listed on the watch list currently? Okay, if not, we'll move to item 3. Is there any action related to the cost centers setup plan project, special projects fund 1400? Seeing none, no action needed on 3. 4, discussion possible action regarding an update on employee benefits. Mr. Wilkerson.
It's so good it won't even pull it up.
We all should
There
have
we go.
it.
There we go. Yeah, we're doing overall very well, just compared to last fiscal year. If you look down, of course, That's the number we look at. The net claims were 1.6 million under where we were combined last fiscal year. We still have about a month and a half to pay claims, so there will still be some large check registers come through. That's expected in the fiscal year, but overall, we should come in under last fiscal year net with a good balance. We still have almost 900,000 of unreimbursed claims. You know, we ran out of money for the COVID-related claims, but under Accenture, there's still this fiscal year about $900,000 of claims that we paid that aren't reimbursed down here. So you could add another, basically $1 million from that, but that's not included. That would be on top if that's added. And that's all I have unless there are any questions.
Anybody have anything?
Good job.
Thanks, Ron. Do we have a motion to receive the update?
Motion. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, item 5, discussion, possible action regarding department's amended FY 22-23 estimate of needs. There's an attachment here for the jail, the criminal justice authorities requested budget. And then we also have the general government, and general government is, I'm assuming the only update was reflective of this request. Do we know?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, looks like it. Okay, so the jail's request now is $44,844,000. This is reflective of, they're looking at not only increasing the number of employees back to 400 from the 340 when they changed it last year to give raises. This is also, they're anticipating, based on my math, just comparing this request to the previous request, about a 12% salary increase for all their employees. That's what it looks like. So I'm not reached out to ask a whole lot of clarifying questions yet, other than whether the raise has actually already gone into effect. I sent an email early this afternoon, and I may have gotten a response, I don't know. But the one thing that I didn't ask about that I do want to follow up with them on is I understand when your salary is going to go up because you're contemplating raises, that your FICA is going to go up and your retirement is going to go up. But I'm unclear why there was a fairly large increase in the health, dental, and life insurance as well. So I don't know why there was an increase there, but anyway, is there a motion to receive? Well, I guess we don't have to receive it because it's attached. Same with the general government. All right, any discussions? If not, we'll move to item 6, discussion possible action regarding request from Planning Commission to delete their $30,128 request on the watch list. So,
Motion to remove the item.
you got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 7, discussion possible action regarding the review of FY 22-23 department budgets, including the use of ARPA funding for eligible payroll and benefits. This agenda item today, I think we'll use it for 2 purposes. One is if there's a discussion on the ARPA funding, and then this will need to be the one that we use to discuss the estimate of needs that have been presented. There's not another agenda item on here to do that, but it does say regarding the review of FY 22-23 department budgets. So I think we can discuss those with this agenda item.
I've got nothing to do as far as the ARPA update. Just waiting on, we've been kind of talking with the consultants back and forth, and looking at some possible options with that. They're possibly indicating that there's a percentage is required, but I think we can meet the percentage still to fully fund sheriff salaries. And again, I think the same thing for correction salaries. So we'll just have to kind of hash that out. I think we have a meeting with them tomorrow, the consultants. So hopefully we'll get some more information from them, and then we'll work towards getting a policy and governance meeting set up so we can run it through that group. So.
Okay.
But basically, for at least for right now, for timeline, I don't know that we would be able to not do salaries through general fund at this point. I don't think so, just from a timing perspective. So.
I think you're right. Okay, so I don't know what everybody's time frame is today. Do we want to start with this agenda item, going through some of the estimated needs that have been presented, pull out items, leave items in as we go through? Kind of start whittling away? Okay, let's go ahead and do that then.
I'm definitely free till 2:30 or something.
I'm sorry?
I'm free till about 2:30 or 2:45.
Okay. Well, and we do have the option at the end of this agenda item to recess instead of adjourn, so I would anticipate that if most of us are free other times this week, then we will utilize that option. All right. Do we want to just start at the top? Like that, Dan?
The driver says yes.
He's driving. Who's operating the radio?
I know, right?
Does it
I
need a
wish it
DJ?
were me.
I bet you've got a good playlist.
Yes.
My kids can play it online.
We're doing the hoops now.
All right, let's start with general government. So I think as we go through these, we've talked about, we only have $279,000 amount available over last year. So we've talked about kind of starting with the idea of a flat budget from the year before. So I think what we need to do is look at the adjustments columns and see which of the up or down we want to keep, what we want to pull out.
I did want to touch on utilities in general government, just based on what we had paid through the year and talking with Kelly Thomas. I think our budget last year is pretty padded for utilities. It was more built on when the jail was included in our utilities, so it just kind of stayed the same. So if we just look at what we've actually paid through middle of April, annualizing those out based on what the proposed budget was, I think we can cut it down about $760,000 in the budget.
Now, was there any allowance allowed in there for those OG&E and the ONG rate case that's going to have the dollar amount increase?
That I do not know. Do you know how much?
I don't know on the business side. Rod, do you know? Have you paid much attention to that?
I paid no attention.
Okay. On the residential side, it's like, they say the average is like $2 a customer on the residential side, but I don't know on the business side how they're looking at that. So.
My thought is we could pare it down and maybe put a little bit on the watch list, just
Sounds good.
because utilities fluctuate throughout
Yep.
the year. But
Okay, so you said reduce the budget request by how much?
by total $760,000 for the 4 utilities combined.
Okay. Can we put that in the notes section?
Sure.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
I think that'd be a funny I know I want to pay more.
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure everybody has an
Really, just do
opportunity
you
to
trust Danny's
participate.
numbers or not?
Sell vacation brain.
I'm back.
Alright.
Yesterday I was.
My utility bill.
Hey, Danny's vacation brain is better than mine on.
No, it is not. Okay, so. Chipping away. Are we there
We'll
yet?
just keep doing that.
Well,
$60,000 down the road.
we also have the insurance premiums and blanket bonds. They're showing an increase of $195,000. Do we recall exactly what that is reflective of?
Didn't I already receive a quote for the insurance for next year?
I thought Karen said that they were that they hadn't had it yet, but
I mean, that is one they would have to encumber full amount
right.
July 1.
All right, how about we do this? How about we flag the 195? We'll follow up with Karen and come back to that. Hey, Rick, on the 54103, the court clerk building lease, that increase of 22,656, do you know, is that just reflective of that annual built-in increase on the contract? Or it's the right to renew each individual year, is that what that is?
Yeah.
But that'll need to stay, because that'll have to be encumbered. Same thing with the PBA leases for the county departments. I believe that was reflective of the increase rental rates there. Danny, did you happen to look at where we are on outside legal for this year?
Let's see. I do have those numbers, but I don't bring them. I can get them.
And Rod, I think you had mentioned in one of our previous meetings that you kind of have an idea on outside legal. Was that correct?
Yes.
And those were amounts that you thought would be outside legal for both the county and the jail trust. Was that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was that dollar amount?
Grossly, 1.5 million to be split.
Okay. Do you know how the split would be? How much of it would be over there versus here?
50-50.
50-50?
And that's a guess.
Right.
I'm not probably the most qualified person to make those kinds of guesses, but yeah, that's what I would guess. And I think that's also the conservative side.
number factored into the criminal justice authority budget?
I think they had, well, I think they had 1.5 million on their own.
They did, and I'm assuming that's because they did the same analysis we did. I don't know that.
It is 1.5 million.
Well, the same analysis would be 50/50, but 750, no. I think.
I mean, they have other issues that we don't have, obviously, but I'm saying that I'm
Right,
assuming from that number, they've done the same analysis we did, but.
Yeah.
And reached the same result, but I've not talked to anybody over there, and I don't know that for a fact.
So you can rotate the thought in there.
Thank you.
It's 1.5 in there. It's on that second.
But that is best case scenario. Worst case would be double that.
we're a glass half full kind of group.
Well, after
Or
I made
literally.
the comment last time, nobody's called to see what I have to talk about, so I'm assuming y'all are very comfortable with it.
Like ostrich in the sand, kind of.
Anybody have any idea how much they've spent this year for their outside legal?
Yes,
That's the
they,
So far,
yeah, the wrong person to ask.
um,
I think you'd be the right person to ask.
I don't really look at their budget much, so.
I don't think I have that.
To move along with the questions, do we just want to leave it at the 650 for now? Either that or put it down to the 600 and put 50 on the watch list. They'll have things to look up on it.
Okay, when we first received the information from them a month or so ago, so this is not, it wouldn't include last month. But at that point, they were on pace to spend based on the average that they had spent each month and just, factoring that out, they were on pace to spend $357,000 this year. Now, like I said, that could be different at this point, but. So, do we want to stay at the 6 and watch list 150,000 on the county side?
50,000.
Rod's saying that he thinks that 750 might be where we wind up on the
I'm just
county.
going off the estimate needs.
Yeah, they didn't ask for 750.
Right, but
I would propose we stay at the 600 and just put it on the watch list, whether it be the 150 or.
I know what Aaron has said in the past in here is that when we're estimating on legal fees, and Rod, if I get this wrong, please let me know, but we need to do our best due diligence to ascertain an amount that that's going to be and not just plug a number. So I don't know where this 650 came from. If they're saying they think it may be 750, that's where I'm coming with the 150. So maybe budget at the
We just need to
6.
resubmit an estimate of needs, otherwise every office can just throw out a number. I mean, I'm fine if it's 750, we just need to accept an estimate of needs with it on there.
Well, and I'm not talking about increasing the budget for general fund to the 750. I'm just saying, leave it at the 600, but when we're building our watch list to begin next fiscal year, we'll have stuff on the watch list that wasn't submitted in estimate needs. And that's what I'm saying, start out the year with the 150 on the watch list in reserve, kind of earmarked for that, so that we're able to meet that number.
Is that a motion, Danny?
Leave it at the 6.
The 150 on watch list? Second.
Sure.
So
I guess.
convincing.
Second, sure.
All right. All in favor of doing that?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
We want to put 150 or just the 50 on the watch list?
Made the motion.
I
Just kidding. 150.
I would be,
Question on motion.
I would be more comfortable putting the 150 in there.
So you've seen something with 750?
I've heard from Rod, who's done the research, and I just, based upon previous conversations I've had with Aaron, both in this room and outside of this room, I think that we need to have a plan for a researched amount and not just and this kind of went back to when the sheriff was running the jail and we were looking at outside medical expenses and all of that. It was the same thing, that we were needing to do a more in-depth dive of what those outside expenses were and the legal fees associated with the litigation and all of that. But that's just, I mean, I understand where Christie's coming from. So, I mean, if the rest of you want to just put the 50,000 on there, I don't have any more of a vote than anybody else in here.
I'm just trying to move the process along and just stay on the estimate needs. That watch list can be changed every meeting we have. And if something's presented, like it sounds like you've got more information than what we've heard or have.
Then we can adjust the
I
watch
mean,
list
I'm just,
accordingly.
yeah, I feel like we're at this point in the game.
We can, and I get that. All I'm talking about here, I don't want to forget about it. So if we put the 50 here now, that's fine. I just would like some type of marker or notification that we remember when we set the watch list, because none of this, the watch list stuff is really official until we do our first watch list in July. I just don't want to forget about that extra 100,000.
Well, so we already voted for the 150, right?
I didn't think we took a vote on it, but it can go up or down. I mean, it's fine. We just need to move along and
Yeah,
not
just-
spend so much time on the watch list.
Yeah.
items. Put it on the watch list and then we can.
Yeah.
At this pace.
Is that the one that's attached to the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
If we do recess, come back tomorrow, whatever, I can come back with an actual amount that we've spent to date for outside legal. That will help.
All right. Is there anything else on this that needs to go up or down based upon the flat budget?
The DA contract, that's next. Do we want to put the 112,000 in the watch list column.
What's the 112 for?
Rod, you don't know that, do you? I think
I've
that's
never
it.
even seen our submission. You have to talk to Russ there.
That's, yeah, I think it was a Russ thing. Yeah, the MGT, the $1,500 increase, I think we can take that off completely. We don't even need to add that on the watch list. I think that could just be the $8,500 for next year. I think the reason why that was moved to 10,000 was because it was 10,000 this year. It was $1,500 more than it had been in years past. But that was because we asked them to do some more work this time than what we've had them do in the past. And the work that they did, I don't anticipate them needing to do next fiscal year. You agree with that? Well, MGT,
Having a side conversation.
MGT, the expense went up this year from the 8,500 to the 10 grand. I don't think we need to budget for 10 grand for next year because the cost was increased because we had them do some one-time looks at
I agree.
the parity adjustment and the other stuff that they normally don't do. So I
Sorry, I
think,
wouldn't pay.
oh no, you're
I
fine,
agree.
you're fine. I would be glazed over if I was sitting over there too.
Yeah, before.
Or in other conversations so that I wasn't glazed over.
Oh, total 1,500.
So the 1,500, yeah, I think it can come out.
Don't get greedy.
And Danny, do you know on these, the bond administrative fees, the $31,000 increase?
Do you know?
Our bonds have been the same unless she's just anticipating the new bond issue.
I think what we paid out this year has been a lot higher than what we had budgeted. So the 35 is more in line with what it should be. But again, I can go look and see what we've actually paid out.
We've just got the two bond issues. One's like 1,200 every 6 months. I can look too.
Christie, are you talking about that you think it might be an increase because of the bond issue that?
I didn't know. I was
Going
just trying to think.
But if that were the case, wouldn't we pay for that out of the ARPA funds themselves? It would,
I don't know. You're going to have bond admin
Well,
fees, and they're
that's-
annual or
yeah.
semi-annual the life of the bond. So I don't know.
never, yeah, it's not,
Let me check on that.
it's not exactly related to ARPA anyway. I misspoke there.
And it's just deciding on the line for the jail, criminal justice at the top, or right there. Sorry.
OSU extension.
Oh no. Question mark by that too.
Horseshoe Extension increase was how much?
165, 167.
55?
Yep.
Okay.
I had talked to LaDonna about that. Not on specifics as far as where that came from, but I think she was wanting the opportunity to come in and talk to us about it. She just didn't know, and this was some weeks ago when she and I talked.
What I would encourage is her to go talk to policy and governance, because that's a contract. So it's gonna be the commissioner's contract. She needs to get with them and find out if they're going to increase that contract. Because if they're not gonna increase the contract, then we don't need to be in here hashing out the extra 55,000. Because I mean, it's not our place to say, yeah, let's do it, and then P&G says no, right? So. Is that all the items that are on there? Yeah, the jail. Here's what I
It's
say.
gonna have to be rolling back except for employees benefits increase. Start there.
Well, what we could do is, that's the whole increase at 12 million. Yeah, roll it back, and then we can figure out what needs to be added in for the employee benefits, or we can leave it flat, whichever. And then when we get further down the line in the process, we can talk about how much of that, if any, we want to put on the watch list. But if we're saying flat, yeah, just pull it. Danny, can you run calculations on I guess what we could do is look at how much their average spend is on health insurance premiums, and then make sure that they have at least the average that they've spent this year.
We'll just wanna have pretty much the general fund impact of the increase.
Right.
Employees by department.
Right, but what I'm getting at is not necessarily just looking at, because they didn't provide numbers of how many full-time, or how many family, how many single, and then you could extrapolate those numbers to that increase. I think what we could do is just get with Wilkerson, figure out what the average number of employees they've had on family and on single throughout the year, and anticipate the same average for next year. And then we could, once we have those averages, then we can add the additional amount for however many single versus however many family, what that increase is. Okay.
I know we're maintaining a flat budget primarily, but are we gonna look at funding the health premium increases at this point? Making that recommendation next week?
I think we should.
I
If
think
they
we
go into
should.
effect
I think we
July
should.
1, they voted
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah, the increase has been voted on.
All right. Is that all of it on general government budget?
Might I suggest we take a look at juveniles since we have somebody here from there?
Sure. Yeah, we move to juvenile.
Sorry, driver.
No, I'm glad you thought of that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Should've said that earlier.
All right, and we've got a document that was handed out at the beginning of the meeting. Let's get a motion to receive the document.
Motion to receive.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, let's start with detention.
I guess I can start. I reached out to Jamie and Hannah before I left on vacation, just because I had not looked at their estimate needs in detail yet. So a couple things I was looking for in the salary adjustment column were, one, they hired 15 new DOs, the annualization of those 15 DOs. I expected to see that in this column. And then also she went to budget board back in December and asked if she could use her surplus funds to give raises, knowing that next year those would have to be annualized as well. I think she said she would have to have at least an increase of $475,000. So I expected to see those two numbers right off the bat on the analysis, but I didn't. So that's why I kind of reached out to them, and just looking at their payroll for the last 2 months, multiplying that out for a whole year, their estimate did not even have enough to cover that. So that's how that conversation started, and I guess ultimately led to her amending her estimate needs.
Can I, tell you what I've provided?
Yeah.
Okay. So this shows you, we'll do salary first. On detention, it shows you what our initial EON request was, which it included the annualization, and it included the new positions, 15 DOs in the intake that we got for 7 months of this fiscal year. But it did not include the increases, because we had been talking about waiting till September to have a better feel for what that number would actually look like. So after our discussions, we agreed that, well, let's go ahead and do the request as a fully funded with the increases, and then we'll have the number, and knowing that we don't have to do anything until September, but at least that number will be there. So this first column shows you the first request, the second request, and how much that increase amounted to. And that includes the new positions that we've requested. The next column shows if you back those out, you get to 449 is the actual increase and annualization with raises, but without new positions. And we did the same for the Bureau, and then broke it out for Fringe as well for both. So I think if you are going to go in flat, you have the numbers here. You can leave the original from last year's salary and Fringe requests, and you can take these additional amounts either with or without the new positions, and that will be your watch list amount if you chose to do that. So we're just looking at detention salary. If we leave it at 4.5, the watch list, if it included the new position requests, then it would be 591,000. If it did not, the difference, then it would be the 449,000. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think what we should probably do there is break that out So if we put it on the watch list, have a
Separate.
watch list item for your new positions of the 141 and a watch list item for the annualization
And the increases.
and your increases for
Okay.
the 449, 681.
I think that would be clear. And then, like I said, I don't really feel like we have enough data to get a real good feel for how much of these increases for a full year that we might be able to absorb. But just looking at kind of where we are now, what we've been spending with the increases down at the bottom, I took the total detention and bureau salary increases without new positions of the 589 number and the fringe, and that came to 658, 612. And looking at our expenditures so far, again, not a lot of data, but if I combined all four buckets, two salaries and two fringes, I'm estimating right now we could possibly have about 150,000 to apply towards those increases, which would put a need of 508, 612, and I had told the budget board it would at least be 475, so it's pretty close. But again, I think we'll have a much better idea in September.
So how do you anticipate, and I'm probably overlooking something obvious, but, so when you had the positions funded, or the raises funded, how would you anticipate being able to absorb any of that through staff turnover? Is that what it is, or like what?
Yeah.
How would you? Okay.
Yeah, I looked at like, how many vacancies that I would guess might not have health insurance premiums for how many months, it's rough. But yes,
Okay, gotcha.
2 months, a DO won't have insurance, a brand new DO. So it's not 12 months I need, it's more like 9, 10. But I still believe that number's getting pretty close to where we'll be. So I hope this helps in terms of how you're laying this out today.
So when you say you don't have enough data, just looking at the last couple months of payroll, it's been pretty consistent. But you're saying now you don't really expect it to change a whole lot between now and
I took
September?
on, for example, on detention, because you've been looking at those numbers. On the salary, I took the average of the last 2 months.
Right.
Like 375 something. And that's kind of how I did that. And then the fringe, I just backed out the money that we already got for the intake and the DOs, which was 7 months worth, out of that total we needed, minus new positions. And that's where I got that number. It says, okay, if we didn't get new positions, and we got to give credit for the 7 months of fringe that we did receive, even though it's different rates, you still get a total number. You deduct from the new number. So that's how I come up with that projection of the 150. It's not scientifically validated. I just like to add that. But I think it gives you a pretty good feel for where we might be.
So hypothetically speaking, if you were fully staffed the entire year, then you would need that full 658, 612.
Yeah, if everybody was there every day, carrying insurance.
I'm tracking.
That's what our second estimate of needs is. It's not just our budget from last year, because with our original, our full-time positions in detention is just a one line item. It's not reflective of each of our different positions. The second estimate of needs with this larger number, that's why we listed out every one of our positions and what it would cost us to fund them if they were in the seat the full 12 months of the year.
And this is where it gets a little confusing here because we don't truly budget off of FTEs.
Right.
Right.
And if we did, it wouldn't be at 100%. It'd be like 90% FTE or whatever. And some of that would be dependent upon the department because some departments that are a lot smaller, may have
Less ability to.
well, and also less turnover or whatever. So what you've done here is probably as good as you could probably do at this point, as a guesstimation. So what I think we should do is, and as we move forward, I don't know if we have two separate columns like this is a definite watch list item. This is an item that maybe we want to have more conversations about. But I think we definitely need to put the 449, 681 onto the watch list, because I don't want to assume at this point that she's gonna have the $150,000 to be able to apply to the 658. I think we should go ahead and put those full numbers on the watch list. Now, the new hires, if we don't have the money, then we just won't be able to fund new positions, and we're not gonna be in a predicament there. We will be in a predicament if we don't have a plan to fund the positions that we already have. So I think that those numbers out to the right, the 449, 681 for detention, the 139, 880 for bureau, I think those numbers need to go on the watch list.
And then the
And
fringe.
then down on the fringe, the 50,000, 3768, as well as the 19,040.11. I think those four numbers, we can go ahead and pull that out and put it on the watch list. And then the other numbers, depending on what everybody wants to do, we can either put those over on the watch list, or we can put them in that other column of, hey, we pulled these out. Maybe when we're done going through all of the budgets, if we want to come back and look at that column of items that we haven't already identified as going on the watch list and add more items over on the watch list. But that's going to kind of be dependent upon where we are money-wise.
I mean, my thought is, we're gonna fund every department enough to cover their current
Just like we did.
salary budget. So I guess my thought is, why wouldn't we do the same for juvenile? Their current budget now has been pretty consistent, which includes the 15 new DOs, right?
7 months worth.
7 months worth, we annualize that. And all the raises that were given in January for the rest of the staff.
Well, there's no money in our current budget for those.
Correct,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, what's gonna change, we've got 2 months worth of consistent data. Why not use that as your budget for next year and then look at it come September? Instead of just going off your current budget, not taking into account any of the changes that were made to the budget, and pushing those over into the watch list.
Okay.
That's just me.
No, I agree. That's the position.
I mean, we
We've
discussed
kinda
it here when
always
we
done it.
gave her
You
the
were
go-ahead
gonna
to hire the new 15 DOs, and budget board gave her the okay to go ahead and give raises, knowing that, yes, we're gonna have to increase your budget next year.
But the salary increase was a different conversation. There was conversation that you may be able to pay for some or a lot of that through.
For this year. And
This year.
then,
But then I think we had that conversation about, would you need an increase to your budget for the next fiscal year based on this? And I think the answer was maybe.
no, the answer
It
was
was
yes. At least 475,000. It wasn't maybe.
Well, maybe on all of it, maybe not on the full amount. Because, I mean, you're even saying here that the 150,000 you may be able to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying maybe you wouldn't need any additional money, but I thought the question was, are you going to have all of that annualized in the next year? And the answer was maybe. Correct.
Well, I don't remember the maybe, but I mean, if that's you remember, that's what you remember, that's fine. I just clearly remember saying that I knew I would have to have a minimum of 475.
You did. Yeah, I went back and watched your presentation of budget board.
Well, but
And you did state that, it was on the agenda, that at least you're gonna need, and you needed their okay before you went ahead and went with the raises. And they said, yes, let's go ahead and give them, and we're sure you'll get at least the 475,000.
right, which is exactly what I'm saying over here, is that it was, maybe you'll need the full amount,
Right.
but maybe you won't need the full amount. Maybe you only need the 475.
Right.
So that's kind of where the conversation is. Do we do the full amount now, or do we hold some because there may be the ability to only need the 475?
again, I'm kind of thinking, look at March, look at April's payroll, unless something's changing in May that I'm not seeing. That's kind of your baseline. That's minimum. That's what you're going to need going into next year. And those months take into account turnover, et cetera.
As I say, and that was one of my next question, is there any other department that would take an additional step in looking at staff churn over and above an estimate of the data that's already for sure, from July through at this point, March or April?
Well, I think we asked questions of the sheriff's office when you guys were still running the jail, and we asked the questions of juvenile just because they've traditionally had a much higher turnover rate than the rest of the departments. So if you're gonna have, on average, $300,000, and I'm not saying it's 300,000, I'm just throwing that number out there, $300,000 that historically, if you say you need 170 positions and we always fund you for the 170 positions, but you're always lapsing back $300,000 because you're not at 100% every single month, well then that's $300,000 that you could budget other places at the beginning of the year instead of holding it up in a budget that isn't going to spend it. That's the reason why we've looked at that with juvenile and the sheriff in years past when we had all the detention officers. But I mean, I'm fine with looking at the full budget for next year, and because I mean, Jamie's talking about doing an analysis ahead of September, so she would have July and August. In June, she'd have 3 more months. Really, how much more data is 3 more months? I mean, is it really going to give us a good outlook?
Right.
Whereas if we budgeted for the full for next fiscal year, and then we run the analysis over that full fiscal year, and maybe look at adjustments for the next budget, not the one coming up, but the next year, we would have a lot more data to be able to determine, are we overfunding in there or are we not?
Yeah, and I'm not saying we budget them at the 5 million because that's fully staffed 100% for the whole year. Correct? That's every position.
Salary for, I don't know.
The second estimate of needs is every position that we have at the raised rates that we're approved.
Right. I'm not proposing that we recommend we budget them that amount for salary. I'm saying look at your last 2 months, do the average, at least enough for that, and then we can put some more on the watch list and see if July, August, June play out a little different than the last couple of months.
How many positions are you down right now?
10 in DOs right now. Now we have a new class starting Monday, another new class starting in 3 weeks, so it rapidly changes each payroll. But sitting right now, probably 12 in detention, maybe 6 in the bureau.
So Danny, what you just said is along the lines of what I've been talking about. I mean, we need to look at what the actual spend is, and not the total number of employees times whatever their rate of pay is, and do the 100%. Right.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. The last 2 months takes into account their turnover. They're not fully staffed. It's never going to be that way. But the last 2 months have everything that we gave them this fiscal year for raises and new positions.
You said you ran those numbers.
I did. Do you remember what the last couple of months have been like? You said it a while ago.
Gosh,
She has it. I remember the 375
375
roughly on salary and detention.
So 375, which has been what they've averaged the last couple of months. You annualize that out. That's 4.5 million.
March was 376, February was 373. I didn't put April's down, I can pull it up.
So
The average between March and April was 375.
So my thought is you budget them at that level, put something on the watch list if needed, and then we'll see how June, July, August play out. Then you come back in September, say that's not gonna cover it, or yeah, we should be okay with that amount.
Which is in line with their first estimate of needs, the 4.562.
Yeah.
And then put the 449,681.
But that's just for full time, so that doesn't include the part time. Do you expect that to increase? Expect more hiring by September? Less turnover?
I think with turnover, it'll probably be that, I'm just guessing what I've seen, that 375 to 380 on a high month in detention salary. So I think if we use around the 375 and then annualized it,
So
we'd have to, we gotta add DOs and all that. Well, they're already in there.
they're in there. So why don't we just use their first estimate of needs, which was a $4,562,410. They're still thinking that that's the dollar amount, but they're concerned that they may need some extra. The extra is the 449,681 that I proposed a minute ago to put on the watch list. And then the other additional amount that was included in their second estimate of needs was for the 3 full-time positions, the 141. So if we put the 449 on the watch list, then that covers the maximum of what we will need to give them, assuming there's no 3 positions added. If there's 3 positions, then that would be something separate.
So the 4,562 that was originally submitted, what did that include? That was with the new rate of pay or with the old rate of pay?
That's an old rate of pay because we absorbed all of the raises in our current budget. We didn't get any money for that. It also includes 7 months of pay for the intake and the 15 DOs.
And so that was my understanding too. So I think if we did the exact same flat budget, just based on the current number of employees they have, that number would be low, right?
With all the raises, it should be.
What was your question?
Is this the first number, the 4,562,410? Was that figure based on the new raise that the budget was provided or the old rate of pay?
Old rate.
Well,
Then I don't know how.
We didn't,
If we increase the budget to their first estimate of needs request, which is $4.562 million, that's a $348,000 increase over the previous fiscal year.
Okay, right, and that includes the new positions
Mm-hmm.
and the annualization. So the only difference then is you backed out that 141 for the new positions. That's where you get that, I guess, that 300 number.
Yeah, their first estimate needs, total full-time positions was 4.4, which based on their current payroll, that's not enough to cover them for a whole year.
And that's where I was trying to get to. So because how did that first estimate of need get put together?
We didn't request any money for raises. We said we were gonna come in September. So with only 2 months of payroll data, we didn't wanna say, yes, this will for sure be enough. No, it won't be enough. Which is why really all we could give you is, here was our budget last year with the positions we know that we have, and then here's worst case scenario if everyone was here in the seat 12 months full. And we can still do that. We can still, if you wanted to float us over, I mean, you know it's coming up, but we would have more data in September to give you a better estimate of the turnover, the payouts, the unemployment, the other things that we don't know what are gonna happen.
Well, Jamie, also looking at and I've got the first estimate needs, I don't have the second, I'm sorry. But the new full-time positions, you had $122,000 for the new full-time positions, but on the sheet you just handed us today, your new full-time positions are 141.
Yeah, I think that on the first one, that's an error. I caught that today also. But this is it. This is 65% of the new rate of pay for the maintenance position and the new positions.
I think I certainly understand what Cody's saying. I also want to make sure in my mind that we're consistent. I mean, if the county clerk, for example, has currently 3 vacant positions, I don't really feel like it's right to only give them an amount of money that would cover what they currently have on staff. If the budget board has possibly approved something different than that, I guess I'm kind of having a little bit of trouble getting there. Even though I know that the juvenile has a lot more staff churn probably than anybody else at the table at this point, but you know, I don't know. I'm sure everybody around the table's got some vacancies.
Well, if you look at one way and you say, okay, well, here's your fully funded budget. And it includes the raises that you were approved for and the annualization of the positions you already got. That's one way to go. Or you can go the way that I was proposing, which is as transparent as I know how to be, to say, if we're not going to wind up needing all this money, we'll have a pretty good feel in September. I imagine using just this estimate of $150,000, somebody else could use that money for something rather than me tie it up all year. That's all I was saying. So I think, really, I honestly think, whichever way you go today, and it's just up to your preference, you can put the 449 and the 139, et cetera, like Cody suggested, on the watch list. We'll be fine till we talk again in September. We can get that far.
I think where I'm kind of having the can't get through my mind is that Cody said something, I think in a previous BET meeting, that we have to budget assuming that nothing's coming in September. And so I just want to make sure that whatever we put on the watch list can get you through 12 months worth of salaries and benefits. I mean, y'all are the experts on y'all's salaries. Nobody knows it better than y'all. So I mean, I want to make sure that if September doesn't come, you see what I'm saying? I want to make sure that you've got 12 months worth of salaries and benefits for the people that are currently employed
And that's
and the people that you need to run the place.
Which is why I said we should put these numbers on the watch list. They traditionally, this isn't something new this year. You guys always have churn. You always have lots of vacancies. So, we could, if we budgeted on FTEs, we wouldn't be budgeting at 100% of FTEs. There's historically, they always have vacancies and are able to get through. So what I'm saying is we use their first estimate of needs, which would be $4,562,410. So $4.5 million of that would be the $375 a month that Danny just mentioned, right?
But the 4562 includes new positions. If we're backing out funding for new positions, then we're back to the 4.4 million, which is not enough to cover their payroll for a whole year.
If we put the 4562 and then we've got the 449,681 on the watch list earmarked.
Yeah. Yes, the 4562 would cover their current
Yeah,
payroll.
okay, listen, I'm saying do the $4.562 million, budget them for that for this year. So that's the $4.5 million that you were talking about. Forget about the new positions. I'm going to mention those in a minute. 4.562 million. You got $4.5 million for their full-time salaries, which is more than the $375 a month that you would need. It's $62,000 more. Well, they also asked for $30,000 of part-time salaries. So that $30,000 of part-time salaries can be soaked up with that $62,000, so they have a buffer of $32,000. If we do that, then a separate transaction, if you will, we put the 449 on the watch list in case they need more than the 4.5 million for their full-time salaries, and the 141, we put it on the watch list or we don't, whatever we do with that, I'm not talking about backing the 141 out of the 4.5.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I said they need 4.5 million to cover their full-time salaries.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, we use their first estimate of needs that they turned in this year, and we put the 449, 681 on the watch list, and I think we're gonna be good, because we have the $375,000 a month that you're concerned about, and that's their average. And if they do go over that 375, we're gonna be looking at this again in September with the $449,000 on the watch list. Yeah, we are saying the same thing.
Yes, I think so.
As long as you understand that that does not include funding for new positions.
I do understand that. That's,
Okay.
So you're comfortable with that, aren't you?
yes.
Do we want them separate?
The benefit,
The benefits associated with that would be 50,000.
037, or 038, just put 038.
Okay, so those are done. And then bureau salaries would be 139,880. And benefits is 19,040.11.
So you're taking the same approach, you're giving them their original estimate and needs amount on this?
Well, that matches with what Danny's showing as their average the last 2 months, which is $375,000.
That's detention only.
Well, yeah, but
But still,
But
yes,
but
you're
it's
giving
the
them
same.
the
65-35, so
And we have very little turnover in the bureau side. So I think this would be a good place to be at in September to take a look.
By making this recommendation, we are assuring that you've got your payroll covered based on what it is now for all of next year.
Mhm. New positions are separate. Yes, that's my
yeah, we need to
understanding.
pull the new positions out as well. And if come September, that 375 turns out to be too light, and it's 390 a month, 395 a month, we can address the 449, 681 that's on the watch list.
And if it
to
shows
account
I'm
for
gonna
that.
have a surplus, then maybe you allow me to use some of that for one of the mental health positions. I mean, there's all kinds of options. Right?
We will cross that bridge.
I know. If that takes care of this, then
Yeah.
okay.
Danny, the new positions on detention is 141, 671. And the benefits associated with that is 63, 163.32.
And we definitely want to put those on the watch list, or not at this point.
I mean, I kind of think we should have another column that we kind of come back to later, but and then on the bureau, new positions would be 22,716. And benefits 12,909.89. Is that right? Okay, the other increases in juvenile. The food, the 44,400, is that based on contract?
Yeah, the price increase, that in my original. So we've had a 49% increase in the number of meals per day, with the 49% increase in the average population from February 21 until February 22. And we've had a 74% increase in the number of snacks. So that and averaging the most ordered items and how they increased is how we came up with that additional funding that we were gonna need. Our population is gonna stay at 60-ish. We have enough information to see that that's for sure.
Oh, Jamie says it's 50. It says 50. So what do you guys wanna do on the 44,000? Do we wanna go ahead and recommend funding that up front?
The most commonly ordered items that we have, I took all of those and averaged the increase, and it's 37% increase from last year on the cost.
So is that and I'm only speaking from a personal experience, but is that a contract? That's the reason for the increase?
We buy food off state
Okay,
contract.
okay. So
And
it's
then
not a
we're
set
also
number like
doing
we got.
some now, we've just started working with the DOC agriculture unit because their availability is not consistent and they don't have everything we need, but we're buying from them what we can because it's cheaper. And so that's working pretty good.
I'd say, yeah, that's an immediate need, I would.
Yeah. So you still think that is a good number? You're gonna need that?
For the whole year?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think we fund that up front. I think the 14,500 though, I mean, those are for COVID tests, right?
Yes, that could watch
That I think
For
we
ARPA?
pull out and use ARPA for it. I mean, I know we don't control ARPA, but that's a county ARPA expense. So if you would track that with policy and governance
Okay.
and any other COVID related expenses that you guys are gonna have. You know, if you have increased expenses because you're doing the trays or the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, let's try to keep that on that side and
Okay.
just keep your regular stuff over here.
Okay.
And then we just have their capital
Mhm.
requests.
Can I ask what the delay time looks like with that? I know we're still in like considerations about the ARPA funding, so will that be a? am I
We'll have an
assuming when it won't be
application, they're
cost-
due by June 1st.
There you
Does that come out? Or just,
Work with your IT folks. There was an email that went out to walk you through the process.
recently?
Yeah, Monday afternoon maybe?
Okay.
I didn't get it.
You didn't get it either? We didn't get, no.
I'm just saying if it's not considered an ARPA cost, then I'm assuming it doesn't get funded. If we're not putting it in any other column other than the ARPA column.
Well, yeah, we can put it on a
Okay.
watch list
I was
and
just asking, so we know that in
Yeah, and if you don't have the funding up front and you need COVID tests, it's gonna be in your M and O, right? So you can always, purchase them and then request a reimbursement.
Okay, well, we'll get on that application. We've not had any discussion with the consultant, so just based on my reading of, the requirements, I would think that we can include a couple of things for sure off this capital list. So we'll do that.
Yeah, you just put the capital project, okay. And we can have more in-depth conversations about some of those. I was just looking to see if any of them were, like what we've done before on extended warranties or anything that we'd wanna just go ahead and throw in there now, but, okay.
I think the only one that, you might just have a discussion after I leave or whatever, about is that emergency road for the emergency evacuation.
Yeah, have you, yeah, we can have a conversation. I also want have you talked to Jasper on this?
He's the one who came
Yeah,
out and
and, okay,
did it,
let
and
me-
gave us the price.
yeah. Let me have a conversation with him on that and with Joe. Let me see what we can do.
Okay. Alright, thank you.
There was also an increase on registration fees, the 1,300. Did we go over that already?
On what?
Registration fees?
Inside is that in,
Detention?
training? Oh, okay, that's moved 1,300 from the bureau, training, and it's just
It's
switching the
a
budget.
One from, okay,
Yes,
okay.
switching the budget.
All right, perfect.
So then on the bureau side, we just need to move the capital. Well, yeah, the 448,989.66.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Anybody have anything?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. All right, do we want to call it an afternoon or keep moving?
Can we do a couple of easy ones?
We go back to the top of the list. Those are all easy.
Getting something done.
I say we keep moving.
Go to the top of the list then, if you don't mind, driver. Those are the easy ones. Commissioners?
Commissioners is all salary and benefits, so
Let's highlight it. Can we do something
unless you
to
guys
it?
wanna roll them back.
Let's highlight that. Let's highlight it.
Roll them back.
All right.
Tree fair is the same, you wanna highlight that one, tree fair?
Yeah.
County audit's the same,
County audit and excise.
excise went up a little bit,
Yeah. But I think that was the,
changing.
in the salary change.
Yeah, state and county requested the same amount.
Guys, look at that. I mean,
That's progress right there.
progress right there.
Good. We're getting there. Good boy.
19 million.
Yeah, 20 million. Public defender? I don't think.
What was the increase there? Do you guys remember? Brandon, you feel progress from me while you were gone?
This is so tight.
To be honest.
You need to know more for that. Oh, who's thinking this is a joke?
Degree that you want.
I like the way it work.
It was little things,
Yeah.
printing and binding books, other,
All their M and O and capital.
yeah,
Yeah,
just little things,
yeah.
paper. I guess just
Those
the
were all
natural
related to the,
increase,
yeah,
inflation.
yeah. I'm fine to highlight that one.
One over here.
Does anybody else not agree to highlight? You sweating over there? A little warm? Oh, not
No.
presently.
The Kraus building last night was at 12:30 this morning, it was 87 degrees. So,
I think I heard that one. Someone hit me.
Hey, some people pay extra for songs. I said some people pay extra for songs.
they sure do. It's free.
Yeah, I bet the smell, but there might evidence with that heat is terrible. Basement's fine. They'll be relocating down there, yeah.
We have one room that's got a mini split in it that works. It's a break room.
But it's 95 degrees in there because everybody's in there.
Danny, if you wanna highlight ours, we're willing to put our whole increase on the watch list. It was just those two positions. If you wanna take them out. Postage. And you can take out the two positions. I can read them all. 47,414. Yeah, we can take the two positions out. They're not new positions, they're vacant, but.
Consider new positions.
No, I mean, it's a weird deal. They're not new positions. They're really resale positions, but they can't start in resale. It's just how the budget is.
On our budget, the District 1 budget there, our increase was the life, or not life, but the health insurance. We had a 7,000 increase, but then we went down in M&O by 1980. So our increases are just related to fringe benefits.
Well, if you're at District 1, if you wanna go ahead and scroll down to District 2, you're already down there, on there. Our increase ask was of course the increase in fringe and benefits. And then that total was 25,592, as you can see. And then the only other increase we had was salary increase for the chief and second deputy, just to kind of shore them up when the elected officials did their salary increase. Subsequently, some of the chiefs went up as well, and so this was just to shore that up to the other relative positions in the other departments. So really, outside of benefits, the only ask was 11,600.
What was, and I'm sure you told us before, but on your medical, you got one single, two family,
Mm-hmm.
and then another one family.
Mm-hmm.
What,
So if you see the first family, the two, that's only 6 months out of the year. So the second family for one, that was for 12 months out of the year. So I have two families at 6 months out of the year, and then one family at 12 months out of the year.
okay.
So since,
Yeah, I got you.
okay. Commissioner Mon would be amenable to do a flat budget other than the benefits at this point. But, would like the opportunity to revisit that 11,000 in September. I don't know if and when that would even be an option in September. So we're kind of rolling the dice here.
So you wanna put that on the watch list, the 11,636?
That would work, certainly.
Next.
Do you have time to do ours, Christie? Or do you need to leave?
Oh, no, we can go for it.
under M&O. Things that I need are line 54, 456, the Just Appraised online service. That's the service that was provided to us around like August it was last year. And that would be a contracted amount to continue that service, so that is a very much needed piece. Where was that budgeted out of for this year? Out of this year, it's out of general, under general revenue. That 94 or 500? Yeah, no, I see the request for next fiscal year in general, but we did a contract with them for this current fiscal year.
That was not a capital.
Right.
Yeah,
We did have the capital
Yeah.
projects, okay.
Last year. And then the other item that I definitely need is under capital outlay for, it's 55,095, that's computer software. For just under 13,000, that's a license for SQL Server on the general side. The other items, I think we're willing to wait till September, see how that comes about. So there's 4 items under travel that can go to watch list. 5 under M&O. Be under capital outlay.
What about the salary side? It's for new positions.
The new one position is something that, if it's possible, I would like to do that if I could, if I have to wait till September to see that, because we were wanting to bring that person in. Typically, the summer is our downtime that we do all of our work and research and preparation of January 1 tax deadlines. But if I have to wait till September to see if that's available, I can wait. But
You said you put your whole capital request on the watch list, the increase? Minus the software, right?
yes, minus the software, correct. Want to move over to VI?
What are we doing with the salaries for the new positions?
That's,
We're
we're holding new positions, I'm willing to wait with everybody else if that's what we're gonna do. That'll still get me September, maybe 4 months prior to tax season. I think on that, just appraised piece, I think that's something we're gonna look at, maybe an ARPA reimbursement for last year, 'cause I think in talks with the people that we're working with, that would probably qualify for some ARPA reimbursement from last year, then moving forward, if we wanted to look at that again. It's for the online service system, less contact with public, electronic filing. That's just something to throw out there that we're probably gonna put forth in ARPA. Danny, did you get the benefits part on there?
Yeah, I just made a note. I'll go back when I get back to my office and plug in the benefits on, we're back in salaries and.
Well, there's insurance on there for one of the employees. Okay. And then working in the visual inspection side, I still looking for the direction of where we're gonna go with the ESRI piece. I'm in at 140 that I've gotta do. So that's a need for me either way we go. With a 110,000 difference.
Possible ARPA reimbursement.
It is.
I had a column to throw stuff over there, maybe to look at, or.
But if we do it under ARPA, then we're paying 100% instead of 10%.
Good point.
Creates problems, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, the 140 on my end, and then was it the 210? Was it one? I can't remember last time. But the 200, 190 or 200 is the other side of the county of that. If we go the countywide rate, which is definitely an ARPA fund, in my opinion. It's just how you want to address it. If you want to go as a reimbursement, or if you want to go as a direct.
How often do they bill? Is it monthly?
No, it'd be an annual contract. Yeah. I think that number's actually 110.
I think his is 140. You were saying 110's the other part?
Well, the additional 110 is my end
Okay, I see what you're saying.
prior year.
Gotcha.
The other piece that I'm going to need is 455, the iLookAbout piece of 55,000. Will be a contract piece. on this one, I know the county's responsible for 10% of these expenses, and other entities are responsible for the other 90%. When do you start sending stuff out on that for the others to pay the 90%?
Billing percent?
Yeah,
That's a question for Karen.
After the levies are certified. Usually send it out in
November.
late October, 1st of November.
so there'll be plenty of time to capture any additional amounts that are added to this budget in
Well,
September.
I have to wait until the September supplement to even know what to bill.
Then the other piece I'm looking at is the CoStar piece for the 35. That we will likely be submitting that as ARPA as well. The only other really big ticket item I need is gonna be in the capital outlay for the computer software. That's the other part of the SQL Server license on the visual inspection side for the 104,840. Aerials, but aerials is really, that's gonna be on contract as well.
Ultimately, the visual inspection, everything in there, the increase is $463,000. So it's a $46,000 increase to the general fund, is what that is. I mean,
Do you remember last year, did you have full-time position, new full-time position requests in there last year that we funded?
I would, we have a appraiser in there.
On the development. This one we've got, this is your mapping.
Right, these are the GIS tech.
Did we fund them during this budget process? We didn't.
Not what we're asking for, we did last year for our field person. And you did fund that, this one is.
Yeah, last year we funded the full request.
That's what I was thinking. And all I had to change it in September was the 2%.
Yeah, so to Cody's point, it's a $46,000 increase if we fund full request.
I mean, you've got several things in there that you have to have. Some of the stuff can push off. So what if we just put the 46,000 on the watch list as far as the general fund? Well, but that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work.
Visual inspection.
Yeah. Sorry.
That was just a little different for visual inspection.
You know, I would appreciate funding that fully so that we're ready to go with our appraisals
Yeah, I think since you don't have salary increase request built into this, that we do just recommend that we fund it for the full amount. New positions and your new M&L capital items.
What was that, Danny? You said since there's not.
Since there's no salary adjustment request, I think typically that's what we do. Maybe if there's a raise request, we'll pull those out, but it would fund the full amount otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, as long as we get down to the end and we can fund all of the stuff that we need to fund, because the way revow works and all of that, I say we do as much of it out of there as we can.
So that would only leave me with the question of where we're going with the additional ESRI piece. I won't be able to wait till September for the county to take some direction with that.
And how much is that gonna be?
I believe the total is I don't have it with me now, but I'm thinking it's it was 350, but then they came back and first year it's gonna be, I think 310 or 320 the first year. Of which I'm doing the 140 total. That would be a contract that would be done July, August. Had to be the time frame that does.
But it seems like we need to put the rest in general government, because we decided we had the whole talk about not being able to split the bill and that kind of thing. If we could split the bill, that's the ultimate thing, but I think you had said they're only wanting to deal with like maybe 2 invoices.
2 invoices is what they've requested, and
So-
I from our conversations with the ARPA consulting firm, they had told me that they felt that clearly falls in the ARPA funds
Yeah,
use.
so we could get it up.
So it would be
For July
coming
1,
back,
you've gotta
so-
have it plugged in somewhere.
Yes, yeah, 'cause I've got licenses and all that that's gonna restructure us.
So 320 for the first year, and you're taking care of how much?
140.
Okay.
I may have the exact number. I got somebody watching. Let's see. Yeah, he says 330. That's what he's telling me.
First 30, so 190.
The first year,
Yep, first 2 years would be 330.
and then it will be,
350 on the third.
So we'll need 190 from somewhere, but you
Thanks,
said,
Jim.
you said the consultant said that may be an ARPA.
That's what the consultants just, I've just explained that to him, and he said based upon that discussion that it would clear that. So I will
So
be submitting
potentially
that.
we could use the 190 from ARPA, and then you would use visual inspection for the 140.
Yeah. I'm guessing by time constraints, I would need that money
Yeah, so looks like
pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
that is-
we may need to add that 190 up
But yeah.
to general government.
Yeah, it'd be 330 total.
So did that increase the general government by 190? I mean, what you did there though is a,
No, we didn't.
does anybody object to adding that 190 at this point to general government? Yeah. All right, it's coming up on 3 o'clock. You guys wanna recess or keep going?
Let's recess.
I'm happy to have.
What's everybody's schedule look like coming up? Cause we can recess this if we want.
I am actually off Thursday and Friday. I'm here till 3 tomorrow. I have a luncheon thing, but then I'm totally fine Monday, Tuesday next week, but I just get scary with.
What about tomorrow? Tomorrow morning? Tomorrow morning work for everybody? Is it 9
The
o'clock?
mornings usually don't work for this one.
Huh?
The mornings usually don't
Yeah,
work.
I've got BOE tomorrow morning.
Okay, well, we could recess to BOCC. Yeah.
I'm not available tomorrow morning.
What time would you be available tomorrow?
Criminal Justice Advisors tomorrow. 9 AM too.
What time?
That one's at 9, yeah. Noon, 1 o'clock?
I could probably swing.
1 to
more.
3 again.
1 o'clock work for everybody? Alright. Well, is there a motion to recess until 1 o'clock
I'll
tomorrow?
make the motion.
Do you want me to send this out, do
Second.
before tomorrow, or does anybody care? We'll just keep working on this.
I always get them.
I'll take a copy.
Okay. We
That's a
got
good
a,
hard work.
I'll
Dan.
clean it up and I'll send it out, or have Karen send it.
got a motion to recess until 1 o'clock tomorrow, same room. Is there a second?
Brandy seconded.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?